In 2024, a lot of immigrants are leaving Canada and going back to their home country. Also, we've seen people that actually relocated via the study route with the intention to stay back, but they are forced to go back home. Why are people really leaving Canada? Hi guys, welcome to Layo's Tribe. Like I said earlier, I just want to highlight some of the major reasons why people are forced to go back home. Okay, and in no particular order, the very first reason a lot of people are leaving is because of the weather. Now, when relocating to Canada or any other country of choice, it is very, very important to research about the weather. Yes, we all know that Canada is cold. However, do you know that the cold in the different provinces tends to vary? So during the winter, when we have some province that the temperature gets up to minus 40, 45, 48 degree, we still have some other provinces in this Canada that it is not a normal occurrence. They don't get to that. So let me give Nova Scotia, for example. When it gets really cold in Nova Scotia, it is maybe minus 20 something degree and it doesn't last, right? So our winter doesn't get extreme. So it's also important for immigrants that are looking to relocate to research and be sure of where they would be able to cope. Or better still, research and be better prepared. Oh, I'm going to this very cold place, but I'm prepared and I'm able to survive there. Also, just the weather is not even the reason people are leaving, but what is the aftermath of the very extreme weather? There are people that suffer severe nosebleed throughout the duration of these very cold weather. People have very serious bone and body pain because of deficiency of vitamin D. People have constant flu that wouldn't just go away. Even with the flu shots, people still fall sick. There was a time in this house that virtually everyone was down with flu, right? So that is just to say that when the weather gets so bad, there are some people that just can't cope. You'll be surprised that we have Canadians that during winter they travel out of the country. They travel to other places that have better weather where they can survive, like Mexico. So for people that can afford it, some people actually do that. They just travel out of this place during winter. I beg your pardon, and then they come back when the weather is better. So yes, it is not everyone that can survive the cold, and that is a major reason a lot of people are going back home. And that takes me to the next point. Why are people leaving Canada? Is the taxation. The taxes are a lot, if I'm allowed to say that. So there are people that, yes, they've been informed that, oh, when you relocate and you work, the government is taking this particular percentage to be able to provide good roads, good schools for your children, hospitals. However, we have the federal government and also the provincial tax. So it's bad enough that the federal government is taking their own portion, and the province would also take their portion. So what happens? When you get your paycheck, or even before, by the time you get your paycheck, these taxes would have been deducted. And some people are leaving Canada and moving because they feel, why am I working so hard and earning so little? Do you know, it's not surprising that here, the more you work, the more tax you pay. No, I would rephrase that. The more you earn, the more taxes you'd pay. So for some people, they don't even want to look for other jobs because they don't want to fall into the next tax bracket. Just because going into that next tax bracket means that you would have to pay more. So that taxation is a big deal for a lot of people. Aside paying tax before even getting your paycheck, you see that amount that is left, that your balance that you get probably bi-weekly or monthly. If you go to the store to buy anything from that money, for example, here in Nova Scotia, you pay GST, HST of 15% on whatever it is that you buy, right? Is that not enough? If you now still decide that, okay, I'm not buying anything, let me invest, you see that investment again, you still pay tax. Although we have some savings accounts that the government has provided for people to be able to invest and even save money, maybe tax free, or even defer the tax to a future date. But these amounts are usually capped yearly for residents. So yes, people are leaving because of tax. Another reason immigrants are leaving and going back home is because some people fail to plan. And anyone that fails to plan will probably plan to fail. It's not enough that, oh, I just want to relocate because that is what is in vogue and everyone is doing it. When trying to relocate, let's try to have our plans. Let's be strategic. Okay, so I'm going to Canada through the study or through the PR route, and my plan is to remain in the country. But what do I want to do? Okay, this is the kind of job I want to do. Just have a plan. I understand that these plans might change, but when you have a plan, it's easy to refocus and redirect, unlike someone that's just coming blindly. Also, prior to relocating, if there is any skill you feel you can learn or you already learn and you just need to sharpen it, now is the time to just pick it up because they would become really, really useful. So some people going back home is because they didn't plan. Another very major reason for people to go back home is because some of these people, prior to relocating, they've gotten to the peak of their career. We have people that are already directors back home that they've actually gotten to the peak. They are already accomplished as far as their career is concerned. And then when they relocate and they see that, oh, okay, so some are able to fine, some are able to continue in that their profession immediately, but for some they would might be forced to take up like entry level jobs or even mid level, and this is something that a lot of people might not be able to cope with and feel, no, I'm a boss back home, I just need to go back home. So it's a major reason some people are relocating. Another major reason people are leaving Canada is because of loneliness and boredom. That is why I'm a very big advocate of, when you want to relocate, if there is any country or province that you have people, not just people that genuinely care about you, maybe that should be the province of choice when deciding where to go. Loneliness and boredom is a big deal for a lot of people. People are constantly depressed. I know people in this country that aside their work, they don't have any other life. Nothing else is happening for them. They don't have family. They don't have people to talk to. They don't have friends. I know people that celebrated Christmas and New Year alone. That loneliness alone is enough reason for some people. I just want to go home where I can talk to people. However, this is still something that can be controlled. Whatever environment you find yourself, try as much as possible to be friendly with the people around. Try to make friends. Don't wait for people to talk to you first. Talk to them. Be very intentional about making friends, about meeting people, about rubbing minds with people. Even if you're starting from your workplace or from your religious gatherings, just try to be intentional, because a lot of people are moving back home because they are not only depressed, they are lonely and bored. Some people are also leaving Canada because of lack of help. Because back home we are used to, some people, don't let me say we, some people are used to getting things done for them. Even to the basic, minute things. There are some people that they don't do anything. There's always someone to do the dishes, to clean the house, the laundry, to even change the bulb. There is always someone for everything. Also because labor is cheap. But because here labor is so expensive and it's not everyone that can afford to get people to do things for them, and then they are forced to now probably do it yourself because that's the cheapest alternative. And for some people that are not used to that life, are not able to cope, they might think, why don't I just go back home? So people are really moving back home because they don't have help and they can't survive. I know someone in Canada, proud to relocating, had two nannies and even one additional help. That those three people were living with her, so she was literally not even lifting a finger or doing anything at home. But the reality abroad now with her kids is she's forced to take care of her kids alone. So yes, that is enough reason some people are going back home. One major reason people are going back and or leaving Canada is because of the cost of living. Inflation now, it's not just peculiar to a particular country or region, it's like a global thing. The cost of living in Canada is high. It is higher than it used to be, and people are forced to go back home because they just can't cope, they can't meet up. Have you seen the cost of rent lately in a lot of places? You'd be surprised that some people feel, oh, the Atlantic region is really cheap to stay in because it's the Atlantic region and things should probably be cheaper and they should probably have a lower cost of living. But if you hear the amount people pay for rent, even here in Nova Scotia, I was speaking to a young lady recently, and she told me that her monthly rent is more than 50% of her income because she stays in a one bed here in Nova Scotia and pays about 1,850. and that is more than 50% of her monthly income. So now imagine someone having to, she is not even a low income earner. Imagine earning that much and still paying that much as rent, right? And don't forget that after paying rent, people still have all other bills to pay that has not been included in the rent. And there's also the feeding cost. You still want to save money, you still want to invest, you still want to send money back home for people because you're trying to help your family or your sibling. Some people just think of all of these things and they're like, is it really worth it at the end of the day? The cost of living, cost of housing, rent, everything, it is not cheap. It is really, really on the high side. And that's the reason some people are going back. That is the reason a lot of people are leaving Canada, because they cannot cope. In addition to that, people that have like 3 kids, they can't stay in 2 bed. They have to get like a 3 bedroom apartment because they have 3 children. So now imagine the cost of getting a 3 bedroom apartment on a new immigrant that is probably doing like a minimum wage job or a transitional job while trying to get the desired job. It is not easy. It is really, really not easy. That is why that proof of fund is really important, because it will come in handy. And it's also key that that proof of fund is yours, so you are able to spend that money and have a buffer until you get that job. Also, back to this cost of living and housing issue, I know some immigrants here, students, that their parents or their guardian at home need to send them money monthly just to be able to meet up. So even the 20 hours, oh, now some are even able to work for more than 20 hours. The money is not enough to take care of their upkeep monthly. Parents still need to send them stipend to balance it up. One big reason some people are going back home is because of cultural differences or culture differences. And this is a very broad topic that covers a lot of things. But I'll give an example. Some of those things that we shy away from back home, or they sound like abomination, they sound like things people shouldn't do, they sound like a really big deal, they are being normalized there. We have the thriving LGBTQ community and some other things that people don't necessarily support or a part of back home, or it's not even, it's even in some countries it's probably illegal, but here in Canada you are forced to accept it as the way of life. You work with people that you might not necessarily agree with the kind of ideas they have, but they are your colleagues. They are people you work with. They are people you meet. They teach your children. And some people are just going back home because they feel, oh, these things that I don't believe in, I don't want anyone to pass it to my children. I don't want my kids to start seeing it as the new normal. I don't want them to inculcate it into their way of life. So because some people are really, really particular about the level or the kind of information their children are exposed to, they feel going back home is just the best option for them. So yes, people are going back home because of the cultural differences. Finally, if relocation is something that really interests you and you are able to plan and afford, then you should absolutely do it. However, you should also look at all of these reasons why people are leaving and be sure there are things you can cope and live with. Thank you very much for sticking around. Please subscribe to Layo's Tribe and I will see you in my next video. Bye.